Welcome to Ancient Chronicles AI. Here, we cross the line between what is known and what is denied, stepping into the Watcher's final message before the flood. Chapter 1. The Gathering of the Fallen. The Watchers felt the tremor of approaching judgment long before the first signs appeared in the mortal world. A heaviness settled over the earth, a silent warning that the balance they had broken could no longer be ignored. One by one, the fallen descended from their hidden sanctuaries, gathering in a remote valley untouched by human eyes. Their once radiant forms were dimmed, marked by the weight of choices that had reshaped the fate of creation. They spoke in hushed tones, their voices carrying regret, defiance, and fear in equal measure. Each watcher knew the consequences of their rebellion were now inevitable, written into the fabric of destiny. They looked upon the world they had influenced, seeing the rise of their giant offspring and the chaos that followed. Some argued for resistance, believing they could still alter the decree that hung over them like a storm. Others accepted their fate, knowing that no plea could overturn the judgment of the heavens. A sorrowful silence fell, as they realized their children, the Nephilim, would soon face destruction. The Watchers gathered not to plan escape, but to confront the truth they had long avoided. And in that final assembly, they prepared to deliver their last message before the flood erased their legacy forever. The Watchers gather in secret as the weight of divine judgment closes in, confronting the consequences of their rebellion and the doomed fate of their giant offspring, knowing their final message must be spoken before the waters rise. Chapter 2. The Whisper in the Firmament. A faint tremor rippled through the heavens, subtle enough to escape mortal notice, yet powerful enough to shake the hearts of the Watchers. The sky shimmered with an otherworldly pulse, as though creation itself exhaled in warning. A whisper moved across the firmament, carried on currents of celestial light that only the fallen could hear. It was not a voice, but a decree final, absolute, and impossible to misinterpret. The Watchers felt the weight of it settle upon their spirits like a closing door. The time for repentance, once distant and uncertain, had now narrowed to a single fading moment. Stars flickered in strange patterns, aligning into symbols that spoke of judgment and cleansing. The moon dimmed as if mourning the fate soon to befall the world below. Even the winds shifted, carrying a chill that seeped into the bones of giants and angels alike. The Watchers exchanged troubled glances, realizing the heavens had spoken with unmistakable finality. Their rebellion had reached its end, and the consequences they had long feared were now set in motion. And as the whisper faded, the firmament fell silent, leaving the Watchers to face the truth they could no longer outrun. A celestial tremor sweeps through the heavens, delivering the unspoken decree that judgment is sealed and time is nearly gone, leaving the Watchers trembling beneath a sky that has turned against them. Chapter 3. The Prophecy of the Drowning World Among the Watchers. One stood apart, burdened with visions that pierced the veil of time itself. As the celestial whisper faded, his eyes clouded with a light not of this world, and the future unfolded before him. He saw the oceans rise in towering walls, swallowing kingdoms built by the hands of giants. He watched the Nephilim cities crumble beneath the weight of waters unleashed from the deep. The sky darkened in his vision, torn open by storms that roared with divine fury. Mountains trembled, forests vanished, and the earth groaned as if mourning its own undoing. He saw the children of the Watchers mighty, proud, and unrepentant struggling against a judgment they could not escape. Their strength, once feared by nations, proved powerless against the flood that swept across the world. The vision revealed humanity clinging to survival, guided only by a single righteous lineage preserved by divine command. The Watcher trembled as he witnessed the cleansing of the earth, a reset written into the fabric of destiny. When the vision ended, he fell to his knees, knowing the decree was not symbolic but imminent. And with a voice heavy with sorrow, he delivered the prophecy of the drowning world to his brethren, sealing their final hour. A single Watcher receives a devastating vision of the coming flood Nephilim kingdoms collapsing, oceans rising, and the world being cleansed, forcing the fallen to confront the unstoppable judgment racing toward everything they created. Chapter 4. The message written in starlight. The Watchers knew their time on earth was ending, yet they refused to let their knowledge vanish beneath the coming waters. They turned their gaze to the heavens, seeking a place untouched by flood, fire, or the decay of ages. The stars shimmered above them like an unwritten scroll, vast enough to hold truths no tablet could preserve. With gestures older than human language, the Watchers began to weave patterns into the night sky. Constellations shifted subtly, aligning into shapes that carried warnings, prophecies, and fragments of forbidden wisdom. They encoded the rise and fall of kingdoms, the cycles of judgment, and the hidden laws that govern creation. Each star became a symbol, each constellation a message meant for eyes far beyond their own era. They hoped that future generations long after the flood would look upward and sense the echoes of their final plea. The Watchers worked in silence, knowing the heavens would outlast stone, parchment, and memory. Their inscriptions were subtle enough to be mistaken for myth, yet precise enough for the wise to decipher. As the last pattern locked into place, the sky glowed with a quiet brilliance, as if acknowledging their effort. And with their message written in starlight, the Watchers stepped back, praying that someone someday would understand. The Watchers carved their final warnings into the constellations, weaving secrets and prophecies into the night sky, so future generations might one day uncover the truth buried beneath myth, time, and the rising flood. Chapter 5. The last plea to their children. The Watchers looked upon their giant offspring with a sorrow deeper than the roots of the mountains. They knew the Nephilim, born of Forbidden's union and shaped by immense strength, could not escape the judgment approaching the world. The prophecy of the drowning earth weighed heavily on them, pressing against every word they struggled to speak. Gathering their children in hidden valleys and shadowed forests, the Watchers delivered their final plea. They urged the giants to abandon the violence that had defined their kingdoms and stained the earth with fear. They warned them that no fortress, no weapon, and no power of flesh could stand against the decree of the heavens. Some Nephilim listened with troubled hearts, sensing the truth in their fathers' trembling voices. Others scoffed, believing their size and might made them untouchable, even by divine wrath. The Watchers begged them to seek refuge in the deep caverns, the forgotten mountains, and the places where the floodwaters might hesitate. They spoke of hidden sanctuaries, carved before the dawn, remnants of ancient realms untouched by mortal hands. Their words carried love, regret, and desperation, for they knew this was the last time their voices would reach their children. And as the giants dispersed, some in defiance, some in fear, the Watchers felt the final thread of hope slipping from their grasp. The Watchers deliver a final desperate plea to their Nephilim children, urging them to abandon violence and seek refuge in hidden places, knowing that no strength or kingdom can shield them from the judgment rushing toward the world. Chapter 6. The Forbidden's Tablets of Remembrance. The Watchers knew their teachings would be erased by the flood unless preserved in a form untouched by water or time. They gathered in a cavern older than the first sunrise, a place where the earth itself seemed to hold its breath. There they summoned ancient fire, shaping stone and metal with celestial precision. Each Watcher carved symbols into tablets, forged from materials unknown to mortals, resistant to decay, and divine wrath alike. They inscribed the secrets of the heavens' astronomy mapped before the stars took their final positions. They etched the foundations of metallurgy, revealing how to bend Earth's hidden ores into tools of power and purpose. They recorded Forbidden's arts of sorcery, not to corrupt future generations, but to warn them of the dangers that once ensnared angels. They wrote the laws of the celestial realms, the unseen order that governs both spirit and matter. Every stroke carried urgency, for the tremors of approaching judgment grew stronger with each passing hour. Some tablets held knowledge meant to guide survivors, while others concealed truths too dangerous for unworthy hands. When the final inscription was complete, The watchers hid the tablets in places where only destiny could uncover them. And as they sealed the cavern, they prayed their remembrance would outlive the flood and speak to a world reborn. The watchers forged secret tablets filled with celestial knowledge, astronomy, metalcraft, sorcery, and divine law, hiding them in ancient sanctuaries, so their wisdom might survive the flood and echo into future ages. Chapter 7. The Angel Who Returned to the Light Among the Watchers. One heart still flickered with the memory of the radiance he had abandoned. He had descended with the others, taught forbidden knowledge, and fathered giants who reshaped the world with their strength. Yet as judgment approached, a deep ache stirred within him, reminding him of the harmony he once served. He withdrew from the gathering of the fallen, seeking solitude beneath a sky trembling with divine warning. There, a beam of celestial light pierced the clouds, touching him with a warmth he had not felt since the dawn of creation. In that moment, he understood that rebellion had led him far from the purpose he was meant to uphold. Driven by remorse, he descended among humankind, appearing to a small remnant who still walked in righteousness. He warned them of the flood to come, urging them to prepare their hearts and cling to the path of truth. His voice carried urgency, for he knew the heavens were moments away from unleashing their wrath. He attempted to intercede, lifting a plea toward the celestial realms for mercy upon the innocent. But the decree had already been sealed, and even his renewed loyalty could not overturn the will of the Most High. With sorrow heavy upon him, he returned to the Watchers, knowing he had chosen the light too late to save the world he loved. One Watcher breaks from the rebellion and returns to the light, delivering a final warning to humanity and pleading for mercy, even as he realizes the heavens have already set the flood in motion, and his redemption cannot halt what is coming. Chapter 8. The silence before the storm. The skies began to dim, their once bright expanse fading into a heavy shroud of gathering shadow. A strange stillness settled over the world, as if creation itself paused to draw a final breath. Birds ceased their songs, and the winds that once danced through forests fell eerily quiet. The Watchers stood upon high places, watching the horizon darken with an unnatural calm. They listened for any sign that their warnings had taken root, but the earth answered only with silence. Humanity continued its daily labors, unaware of the judgment poised above them like a suspended blade. The Nephilim roamed their territories with pride, dismissing their father's pleas as fear-born weakness. Even the animals sensed the shift, gathering in uneasy clusters as instinct whispered of danger. The Watchers exchanged glances filled with sorrow, realizing their messages had gone largely unheeded. The constellations they had shaped glimmered faintly, but no eyes turned upward to read them. The air grew thick, charged with a tension that pressed upon the soul like an unseen weight. And in that profound quiet, the world waited unaware that the storm of judgment was already on its way. A heavy stillness blankets the earth as the skies darken, and the Watchers realize their warnings have been ignored, leaving the world suspended in a haunting calm just moments before the heavens unleash their wrath. Chapter 9. The Descent of Judgment. The first tremors of judgment rippled through the earth, subtle yet unmistakable to those who had awaited the decree. Clouds gathered with unnatural speed, swirling into vast spirals that blotted out the sun. A low rumble echoed across the horizon, not thunder, but the sound of the deep places awakening. The Watchers stood upon the mountains, watching as the sky darkened into a mantle of divine wrath. Rain began to fall in heavy, deliberate drops, each one striking the ground like a warning. Rivers swelled with sudden force, rising faster than nature could explain or contain. The fountains of the great deep burst open, sending torrents of water surging upward from the earth's hidden chambers. The Watchers felt the finality of the moment, knowing their pleas and efforts had changed nothing. Their attempts to alter fate collapsed like sand beneath the rising floodwaters. A blinding light tore through the clouds as celestial forces descended to seal the judgment. The air vibrated with the power of the decree, leaving no doubt that the heavens had taken command. And as the waters surged across the land, the watchers realized their punishment had begun, unstoppable and absolute. The first signs of the flood erupt across the world as rain, rising waters, and divine forces converge, leaving the watchers powerless to alter fate and forcing them to witness the unstoppable judgment they once believed they could escape. Chapter 10. The Last Echo Beneath the Waters. The floodwaters surged across the land, swallowing mountains, valleys, and cities in a relentless tide. The watchers stood powerless as the world they had shaped unraveled beneath the weight of divine judgment. Their final messages, warnings, prophecies, and fragments of forbidden wisdom were scattered like dust in the rising storm. Some were carried into the depths by currents that twisted through ancient caverns and forgotten chasms. Others clung to remnants of stone, drifting into the abyss where light could not follow. The constellations above remained unchanged, but their earthly echoes dissolved beneath the waves. The Nephilim kingdoms vanished, leaving only faint vibrations in the deep places where their ruins sank. The watchers' voices, once thunderous and commanding, faded into whispers drowned by the roar of the waters. Yet fragments of their final message endured, hidden in the shifting silt and the silent chambers of the ocean floor. These remnants waited for ages to pass, for civilizations to rise, and for seekers to uncover what the flood could not erase. The watchers watched in sorrow as the last echoes of their legacy slipped beneath the surface. And in the quiet after the storm, the world began again, unaware of the secrets sleeping beneath its reborn shores. As the flood consumes the world, the watcher's final message sinks into the depths shattered, hidden, and waiting across ages for those destined to rediscover the echoes of a forgotten age before the waters reshaped creation. If you enjoyed this journey into the unknown, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you never miss what comes next. Until then, stay curious, stay aware, and keep searching the shadows. Take care.